Hello YouTube, and today, this is milkjamjuice by the way, I almost forgot, can't believe I forgot to say that. Anyway, today I'm going to do a question and answer video because I asked you guys for some questions and I got some really good ones, and all with the exception of one question that got asked several times. That one's going to be a separate video. I'm going to cover the rest of them here. I'm going to have a laptop in my lap because I wrote a lot of notes for this video so I could get this right. So I might be peeking down and quoting from this a few times. I got like some news articles down in here. But let's get started. So I'll start with the first question. So this person says, could you compare your expectation of Japan to your actual experience? Kind of. I came to Japan the first time when I was 17, and I came here for like a really short high school exchange. I was just here for a month. My expectation of Japan at that time was like, one of the expectations was everyone lives in tiny little apartments. That's actually not true. When I stayed with my host family, they lived in a house that was comparable to the size of my own house in the States. So that actually kind of shocked me. I was like, wow, this is a 5-bedroom house. Holy crap. Like, wow, that's not a small apartment at all. Of course, that's not representative of all families, but that did kind of blow away my expectation. The other expectation I had was, as a teenager, was because I saw like a bunch of like doujinshi with boys love and stuff. I thought that Japan would be like much more publicly positive about homosexuality. It's not really. I would say, when I first came here 15 years ago, I, in general, felt that Japanese people were a bit more forward and friendly towards foreigners. And this is just my opinion, but I think the environment's getting a little bit more hostile due to the kind of nationalist government that's going on right now. This is just my opinion. I'm pretty sure other people's perceptions are different, but that's just how I feel. And okay, what else? Next question. If you didn't live in Tokyo, would you feel like you were missing out? What would you say, would you say there are other great cities in Japan? Let me just say this. I don't live in Japan to live in Japan. I live in Japan to live in Tokyo. I like Tokyo. If I didn't live in Tokyo, I don't know if I would live in Japan. That's just how it is. But for my job, I do work, I go around the country a lot, and some of my favorite places have been actually Kagoshima, which is one of the very southern prefectures of Kyushu, which is next to Okinawa, is the most southern island in Japan. And in Kagoshima, it's really cool there. Everybody's really laid back. The general attitude is just neat, and it's kind of like a beach town, except that it's next to a volcano and it's covered in ash all the time. But besides that, Kagoshima's a pretty sweet place. Saitama's pretty laid, a little bit, I don't know, Saitama is like a suburb of Tokyo. Saitama and Chiba are both kind of like Tokyo, and they're developing more these days because more and more people are moving out towards that way because real estate's cheaper. I enjoy those areas. I actually really liked working in the countryside in Nagano. I was in a place called Suwa last year for about 6 months, and everybody there was really kind and really nice. I really enjoyed being in Nagano, and also the scenery there was gorgeous. You would go outside because it's in the middle of the Japan Alps, and you just go outside and you can just 360, and there's like snow-capped mountains everywhere, and it's like fog rolling in off the mountains. It was gorgeous. Those are some of my favorite places, and they're kind of random places, but I like them. Next question. I would like to know your whole journey. Let me start over. I would like to know your whole journey with the Japanese language. And then parentheses, you don't really say much, but I know you understand some Japanese because you can read it. Okay, let me talk about me studying Japanese. I decided to start learning Japanese when I was either 13 or 14. I don't remember exactly when. But I just thought of it one day, and I bought some books from a bookstore, and I drilled myself in the kana. So I taught myself katakana, and I taught myself hiragana, and I taught myself some basic kanji and basic grammar. So when I had gone to Japan the very first time, I had never taken a formal Japanese class. but I knew basic phrases. However, living in a completely Japanese immersed environment for 1 month straight will do amazing things to your language skills, because my host family, besides my host sister, didn't really speak English. And my host sister was trying to use more Japanese with me when I was there. So I learned so much just by being dunked into there, like just on basically like on a cold run. It's just okay, let's go. After that, I went to university and I studied 4 years worth of coursework in 2 years. So what I did is I didn't take summer breaks, and I took intensive Japanese courses over 2 summers to get my 4 years in. And that was in order to get ready for my 3rd year of college, where I spent 1 year in Japan. And that was Tokyo. That was my first time in Tokyo. And once again, I did take Japanese classes like in my Japanese university, but the problem I ran into was that my kanji level was not so good, but my conversation level was pretty good. So it was really frustrating to be in class, because kanji is something you can learn, and I learned those kanji pretty quickly, but I asked them, they wouldn't place me out of the class, and it was really frustrating to be in that class because none of my other classmates could speak like sentences or carry on conversations, which was no problem with me. Or which was not my problem, because that really, where I was studying in Ohio State, the conversation is much, much more emphasized in that program than writing is. And that's kind of why I had a sort of a skill set like I did. I further developed my Japanese abilities by going to a ton of concerts and just drinking at a bunch of bars and going by myself, going places and getting lost. I'm familiar like the back of my hand with so many places in the just general Kanto area or more, because my hobby was just going somewhere. And this is before like a lot of GPS was available. This is back in 2004, 2005. So I would go just like, okay, we're gonna go to a place today and we're gonna go get lost, because there would be like a concert at that specific place, and I'd look up where it was. And mind you, this was before Suica or Passmo existed. So like you had to buy like little paper tickets for every time you switched train lines, or like get the transfer tickets and stuff, and that was a pain in the ass. But I managed. Yeah, like they didn't really integrate the Suica system, I would say, until like 2006 or 2007, which is actually, I guess, that's almost 10 years ago, but yeah, that was still pretty recent for me. Anyway, speaking of studying Japanese though, I have not, like when I got back from Japan, I didn't take any Japanese classes after that period, and I haven't since then. So I haven't really studied Japanese since 2005 formally. I enriched my Japanese by playing Japanese games, reading Japanese comics, watching Japanese movies, talking to Japanese people. Anytime a kanji pops up, I look it up, and then I'm like, oh, that's a new kanji. And that, living here helps that a lot. I would not suggest that kind of osmosis learning to anyone living outside of the country, because it's just too passive. And if you don't use it enough, you will forget. I spent a year back in the States, and that 1 year I forgot quite a bit. And then when I came back. But yeah, with foreign language, if you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah. Okay. Somebody had a very similar question. Do you still actively study Japanese, like sitting down and writing kanji and whatnot? Nope, not at all. Not unless there's a JLPT coming up that I want to take. I don't study. I've got a couple grammar books lying around, but I haven't looked at them. That's just because I don't have very good yaruki. Sometimes my motivation is not so good, so yeah, it's outside of a school environment. I'm not a school or work environment. I have a hard time making myself do stuff.